Yeah, just the one that interests him the most. Why does this mean that?
Yeah,
What was
that
your
means
argument?
it's more interesting than Gojo. Then, like that's blatantly what that means.
You said it's more interesting than Gojo.
Yeah, she's more interested in Gojo, blatantly.
Hmm. It piqued his interest. It said it piqued his interest in a specific way. So I mean, that's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah, and I'm arguing that's because Maki forced him to lock in because of that. And because of that, he's getting the
You said
black
that would
flash.
mean he's more locked in because no, it doesn't make any
Wait,
sense.
even after
Just
locking,
because if
she
I,
reacts to
that
him.
doesn't even make any sense. I can have something pique my interest the most, yet not try the most, because it would make sense that he wants
Bro,
to establish himself as the strongest sorcerer, which is why he agreed to wait to fight Gojo in the first place to prove who's the
wait, I
strongest.
think you're
He
lost about the
tried his
argument.
hardest
We
against
agree. Wait,
Gojo,
wait, wait, wait.
and he
You
was
agreed
genuinely.
earlier to the
Stop
prime
cutting me
agree.
off. Stop cutting me off. Stop cutting me off.
Okay.
Also,
My
we're
gosh.
talking about him proving he's the strongest. He was genuinely scared for his life that he was going to lose. That he's been planning to come back for 2,000 years. And Maki is so special because of her heavily restriction. So go ahead.
Yeah, I think you're like lost. Like you agreed to the prior conditions that the focus and questions in reference to Black Flash. Obviously, to even do Black Flash, it requires immense concentration. And I already gave an example for how Sukuna was concentrating on Maki insanely severely. This guy literally stops healing to focus all his stuff into his body. He's actually trying to just basically pack her to death. He has to prove a point. Like it literally says, her whole being contradicts his narrative. He's literally just trying to prove a point that she, what's it called, strengthen the body. Only it's not because only strengthening cursed energy and cursed things like Sukuna is. Obviously, like being focused like this does give you a massive amp. Like we see with the Black Flash, we agree with the fucking Shibuya thing where it gets like a 120 percent amp. Like so, it's pretty clear that Sukuna is gapping himself from earlier at this point in time.
No, that doesn't prove it just because he gets an amp. You have to prove the amp is greater than the low, greater than the fluctuation.
Wait, wait, listen,
So
listen.
that's first
One
off. Wait,
twenty
I'm not
percent.
done. I'm not done. I'm
Wait,
Highlight
not
the
wait, I
done.
didn't say
Stop
fluctuation.
cutting me off. I'm not done. I'm not done. You'd have to prove that it's greater than the nerf that he's getting. One, two. Black Flash. I don't see that require concentration. And if y'all don't have any more points, then I think we should just conclude
nothing.
on this point.
I did 120%, right? Is the Black Flash amp. That's higher than Sukuna's
Wait,
amp.
wait, Jin, can I tag this? Jin, can I tag this?
Go ahead, go ahead.
Okay, give your two refutations again, Whyfun.
I said you have to presuppose that the nerf is greater than the buff, and
And then the second
um,
one is the concentration.
yeah, black. Why does Black Flash
Okay,
have
cool, cool.
concentration?
I highlighted why the fluctuation is less in this specific instance. I already highlighted that. I
Oh,
sent the scans for it and everything. And as for the
oh,
second
you
one,
didn't say the scans.
wait, Whyfun. Oh yeah, you can look at them, but with his reverse shares, like constantly depleting as the fight progresses, and then he even mentions like he can't
Ping
even
the
use reverse
scans.
shares technique for real. And then okay,
Ping me on the
cool.
scans.
All right, and then with this wait. Yeah, and with the second thing, what I was basically saying was that like, he literally stops like healing himself in order to focus in more. Once he tries using the Black Flash, the whole Black Flash thing is concentration. That's why he goes out of his way to stop something that he was manually doing and concentrates everything to the Black Flash. And even when he does, Maki's able to react to it, which I think is way more impressive than anything Yuta does. Because all I'm saying is like I'm fine with the nerf and buffs like fluctuating. That's fine, whatever. But I'm saying that we know when it fluctuates the most, and that's during direct confrontation. And we see outside of those instances, he's actually able to do those things, but he couldn't during those fights. Like he's constantly
Okay, wait,
complaining
you're
about
bringing up
RCT
multiple points.
during
I
the
said
Yuta
one
and
point
Yuji
at a time
fights.
for a reason. Y'all are just throwing out hella
Sure, sure,
points.
sure, sure, sure,
So
sure,
we're
sure,
gonna
sure, sure.
go over
I'm just
the RCT
recording.
point. We're gonna go over the RCT point first, and then you can bring up the other points because I didn't hear them. I'm not gonna lie. So for the RCT point, he literally just says his RCT is weakened from Gojo's fight. Doesn't mean he can't use it. That should still apply in Maki's fight. I don't know why this wouldn't apply anymore. So that's something you'd have to argue for.
Okay, right. And what I'm saying is, not only is it weakened, it's immediately getting more affected by Yuji's punches. So I think it's in a worse condition then, right? Than it is against Maki, in which case we see he's actively using it whilst not complaining. He even says it's not really a trouble, right? Like he's able to like constantly use RCT and be cool about it, as
Because
opposed to
the
these
effects
situations.
are
Like whenever
weakened.
Sukuna's nerfed, wait, chill sec. Whenever Sukuna's like nerfed by something, he's always mentioning it as a reason as to why he's struggling. So, or as a reason why he's in a worse condition.
He said every time he's
Go
struggling,
ahead.
he states it.
Most of the time, like whenever he's struggling, he like kind of highlights like what he's being nerfed down by. But during the Maki fight, he seems to be pretty cool. Even when he says that he's gonna like give it his everything.
He announces every time he's nerfed, mostly.
There's a probability. I can give you consistency if you want.
Uh, I mean, that's the consistency is just going to be the times we know he's nerfed. We know he's nerfed. I mean, it's kind of just going to be trivial. That's
No,
not
and
going
I'm
to tell
saying
us
he
anything.
himself goes
So
out of
you
his way
can't
to
wait.
tell us that he's
Until
nerfed.
the times he doesn't tell us he's nerfed, how will we know he's nerfed?
Right, and that's what I'm saying. That there's
So
indications
that
of
point is
certain
very
techniques that he
trivial
uses.
to bring up. That doesn't give evidence to any side.
Well,
So the
I
whole
don't think
thing
it's
I'm saying
inherently
is that
trivial
wait,
because I think it's
calm down.
backed by
Because if he
justification.
wait, I'm not finished. Because if he says that he's weakened from this fight with Satoru Gojo, he would have to prove that it stopped at the Maki fight. Because just because saying he's used his cursed energy, I mean, he uses RCT, it doesn't combat the claim that he's saying. The claim that he's saying is that it affects his RCT. It makes his RCT weaker. That doesn't mean he can't use it fine. It's just less
Right,
effective than it
right,
was before.
right. I already mentioned like how the way he uses RCT changing. We can move on, bro. Like there's nothing else that like you're saying now that's any different from what you've been saying for the last
Okay,
20 minutes.
if you didn't bring up anything new, then we can just leave it off there.
Yeah, sure. Do you want conclusions?
You said, do I want conclusions? I don't need it. If y'all want.
I kind of want to. There's a lot of things. So Whyfun, do you want to conclude? Then I'll conclude.
I can conclude.
You want to conclude or no?
Yeah. Pretty much, I was just arguing from parsimony. I'm saying that we have all these statements saying that Yuta's number two, and I established a rule that we have to have reasons to believe, to not take it literally, like not to take the words from their meaning. Because if we don't, then we can just interpret it to be whatever we want. And these statements blatantly are not specifying Yuta's number two in this or that. It says that Yuta is the number two, and also says that Rika's power is necessary. It says Yuta's the second strongest sorcerer. So taking that generally would include everything. Also, from Sukuna himself, he thinks Yuta's stronger than Maki. So from the consensus of statements, would literally just come to the conclusion that Yuta's stronger. All of his positions presuppose that nerfs applied and didn't applied in Yuta's fight, and didn't apply in Maki's fight, which he didn't give any evidence for. So,
okay. Sure. So he said a whole lot of like nothing. With the first thing, he sent a bunch of statements where it's like, okay, these three statements imply that Yuta is the second strongest, right? I said, Jin kind of like contextualized like the third one, and I said that like, we kind of contextualize this in context of everything here. And then there's another reason why he's considered the second strongest is because of his wide array of abilities. But we see like most of these have contextual uses, right? And I don't think it translates to a 1v1 fight in the sense that he thinks it does. I say this verbatim, that doesn't translate fully, doesn't really say much. My whole thing with the 1v1 situation is I think Maki performs significantly better. When he says that like Sukuna prefers Yuta over Maki, it's again based off the abilities kind of shit, which I think is more annoying for someone like Sukuna. And he doesn't attack like me saying that it's only in context those specific things, and then not in context of the 1v1 shit. The 1v1 shit, bro, Maki like sees you Sukuna lock in, and even after Sukuna locks in, she's able to block one of Sukuna strikes. And then I explained why like he's less weakened in this fight because I said that like there's a bunch of instances whenever he's like using RCT, he like immediately uses it. I name an instance. Tensa, keep in mind it's completely uncontested. I go during the Choso situation when Suguna fights Choso. Choso hits him with a technique. Suguna doesn't use RCT. I mean, Suguna uses RCT immediately, heals himself. Like we see, like when he's getting jumped, whenever people hit him, he immediately heals himself. And then in this situation where Suguna is able to fight all Yuta and Yuji, he doesn't do that. We see like him having scars. It's in the scans too. Like throughout the entire fight, he says, "Oh, that's just because he's focusing on a hollow wicker basket." And I'm saying that's fine because my whole point is that because there's three people in the battlefield, it's much more difficult for him to conform and adapt to the fight and do certain things which otherwise he'd be able to do. And I think that just inherently puts him in a worse position because not only is Yuta fighting Suguna that's distracted, he's also not healing himself. So I think it's a much worse position. I also say that like Suguna reacts to Yuta while he's off guard, which also like just doesn't get refuted whatsoever. And then later on, I go into the depths of like the fluctuation shit. It's obviously just like highlighted like based on how Suguna words these things, and he verbatim tells Maki, "I'm not struggling, I'm fine." No refutation to any of it. Jin and him kind of discussed um, like whether he's like going all out and whatever whatnot. Jin explains that like he's going all out just based off the way like he goes out of his way to say that like, oh, I'm gonna prove something against you. Also highlight that like he stops beating his heart, which he was doing prior, in order to concentrate fully. Whyfun doesn't really attack the concentration point, so that's kind of still up in there. And then yeah, this is just there's a bunch of instances that prove Sukuna is going all out, or at least makes it more probable. But yeah, that's my conclusion.
Bro, what is it? Bro, poison, bro. What did you send? Okay. Just to preface, bro. Like, I don't like any of these niggas that are debating right now. So then it's just biased. But I think it's either at maximum it's a stalemate or a Wi-Fi one. For the explanation, I'm literally just go point by point. So originally, when we got the number two statement, to keep in mind, the argument regarding that he's overall more of just a nuisance in terms of abilities when you're referencing Sakuna is, I guess it's an okay interpretation, but when leading to the credence of the other scans, we're just trying to say it's more consistent statements. The statements that are made outside of Sakuna regarding him being second to Gojo and him being the number two, those arguments that Jin tries to refute, he tries to say that it's in reference to just cursed energy, and number two is referring to Jackpot. And then so, what's his name? Hikari in Jackpot is number one. The refutation to that, there's two refutations Jin never does. First of all, he says that the current tense statement is based off of overall. We understand that if it's overall just in terms of the current tense, if a card is not in jackpot at this moment, then the statement's just null and void to say he's number one. Jen immediately concedes of this notion by saying that they're not even fighting yet. Or they're not even fighting yet. The statement's not even reference to that, right? It's just in reference to if he were to use jackpot, which he is yet to do. And then the point is that even after following that, that if they are both infinite, the parsimony point that he applies to is that if we say that they're both bottomless or infinite, we say that one is over another with no apparent reason at all. Right? His point is less parsimonious on top of the fact that he has other serious statements such as state he's number two, right? And then so at most, if we interpret Jin's statement, it's not that hard. If we interpret Jin's statement to be like literally Hikari has an infinite amount of curse energy in terms of jackpot, which are not even referencing, at most it would be equal to still contradict the point, so it wouldn't even matter. Then leading on from the Hikari jackpot point, then the consistency of statements, if that point goes through, kind of like everything else just falls over. Because if it's consistently stated that he's number two, and then it's impossible to prove the burden that the fluctuation somehow aligns with Tanwin's argument when he gives no argument to isn't how the metric of not inflation, um his curse energy and fluctuating at a certain point isn't how it lost the jackpot. Not jackpot, my bad. Black Flash. He's just not no proof. His
I did
argument.
though. Wait. I did. I just want to make sure I sent the scale
No,
where it does.
he never gives the argument, for example, that like if we were to use Black Flash at this moment, that his curse energy fluctuates in the sense where now he's over the Udafite. We just know that it's
I did.
fluctuating.
I did make. No, I give the argument. I said it.
No, you didn't. The only
I
argument.
did. I said that the Emperor is 120%, so he'd be over his max.
Okay, yeah, but that's the thing is that he's saying that if it's over, Whyfun already said that when we reference when his curse energy is fluctuating, it's relative to his previous state. So, for example, if
That
because
100 like that, there's no what are you talking about? His
wait, no,
previous state be 20.
if bro, the fluctuation it increases or decreases, but overall we understand that it decreases over time because that's what your argument was. Whyfun never disagrees with that. So it's
Wait,
maximum.
I'm still confused on how the percentages wouldn't be 20 in this instance as opposed to like 15 or 20 stuff like that.
Okay, bro, do you not like have ears? Do you not hear me talking and explaining? You just cut me off to say the dumb shit.
Okay, but whatever, bro. I did bring up set theory though. He just didn't give a response to
Okay,
it.
yeah,
It's cool.
he literally didn't give a response. First of all, if you were to say that it's a higher level of infinity, right, and then it's just in reference. First of all, I don't even know why they didn't bring up this point. The grammar alone kind of shows the fact that it's not a reference to just Jujutsu High. That was retarded. What was this? I think he had reference to argument like that. What was it? It was yeah, that's right. Yeah. He says he says that if Yuta was stated to be like he has the most amount of cursed energy, right? And this is an overall sense. And then they state that Hikari has more, but then he says that's contradicted because that would be more of a general statement, but they isolated to specifically Jujutsu, like with Jujutsu High. He said that yeah, that point contradicts it because if your argument is correct that Hikari is a higher level infinity, he says that it will be more of a general statement. It's a particular friend. That's his argument. Yeah, so just the realm of the statement contradicts it. But then, like I said, there was just no argument for the parsimony point and it being general. He just never. I don't know why. And then especially when he never said this again. He said it like once or twice. He said that when it's stated to be infinite, it can just be in reference to it never running out, and that just falls with his point. And you just never referenced that either.
I did. I disagree with that. I just said that Gojo has a similar trait, but
that was in. There's two different alternatives he produces. He gives the one where it says it never runs out and cursed energy.
Yeah, and we referenced Gojo, and I said that it's just stated otherwise. Like
he gave. You can check the recording. He gave two different arguments. The one that you attacked was the what's it called, the Gojo efficiency point, I think you won that because the efficiency doesn't actually have anything to do with the essence of cursed energy itself. That's just how the person uses it, right? Now in practice it can be that, and I don't think Whyfun won that point. I think at max it would be a stalemate, but overall you won that point. But the point he brought up before then was just that, oh yeah, essentially it just never runs out, right? Like it literally it just replenishes. That's what he was. It's not hyper literally or bottomless in a currency like Yuta has. So that's the point. So then like you never attack it. That point went
Wait,
through.
he's saying Yuta just keeps on
Nothing
replenishing his
got
curse
wrecked. I
energy?
thought there was a recording about in VC.
No, they did, but I think the person that's debating D1 took it out.
That's retarded.
No,
Yeah,
they
no.
saved it. They saved it. They saved it.
No, yeah, it got saved, but it's only 2 minutes. It's like the last part.
Oh, that's okay. That's dumb. But anyways, no. So the first point, like I said, is that it replenishes. So essentially, just never runs out. So in that sense, it's referenced to be infinite. And then what's it called? He's saying that that doesn't inherently now produce Hikari having like a higher infinity of curse energy. And then he also said you could just never prove that. He just basically reduced that to parsimony. So there's 3 points he made against the Hikari point. And the point is that if that point goes through, is if he's already acknowledged to be number 2 external to Sukuna, because Tanwin's arguments only really just debunk his in reference to he's just more of an annoyance in reference to Sukuna. But in reference to statements outside of Sukuna, there was never a refutation for that. So if the consistency aligns before Sukuna, this point is by saying that internal consistency before Sukuna leads to X. There was no ever defeating the internal consistency before X. The only point that you ever could have really have won was the curse energy efficiency shit, and then like I don't even know what else. What could you ever possibly win besides?
Damn. So that was like a bit of aura from Whyfun. Doing the 2v1.
I mean, I debated as well, but I mean, I guess.
I mean, no, you didn't.
Oh shit.
Randy did